welcome to another episode of the Brad Davidson Show. I'm your host, Brad Davidson. I was supposed to have a guest on today, but we had to reschedule. So I want to talk about a topic that just kind of fell into my lap earlier this week. And it's around exercise. And so much of exercise is focused around weight loss, fat loss, muscle gain. It's all a physical image thing. But in my opinion, and in the opinion of lots of others, there's so much more that we can gain from exercise, especially when we apply good strategy to it. And these are some of the strategies we specifically use with our clients at the weight room and Dynamis specifically for these types of purposes. So here was the scenario. I had a gentleman, I've been training him for 2 years. When he first came to me, he had a discectomy. So he had a spinal surgery, had a bulging disc, was in a ton of pain, had the surgery, was doing better. Everything was going well for him. And then he was in a class and he hurt his back again. And all the flare-up came back. The doctors were telling him he had to have a fusion on his lumbar spine. But I said, hey, let's just give it a go. My background is in spinal care. That's what I did for a number of years, especially for athletes. My job when the athlete had a spinal injury, had surgery, was done with physical therapy, my job for a long time was to help these individuals get back to their sport at a high level. And so I said, hey, I used to do this process. He was an ex-athlete, so he wanted to give it a go. So we have this theory when we're working with those types of injuries. We call it surround the dragon. One of the things I learned to do in those scenarios is wherever the injury is, you build all the musculature you can and strength around it as much as possible. Surround the dragon. And we got this guy back. He was never supposed to squat again. Was never supposed to do more than walking again. That's how bad the back injury was. But I got him to a point where he was back squatting, he was rack pull deadlifting, he was lunging, he was doing all these things that he wasn't supposed to be able to do. And thank God we got him to this point. Because you see, one of the things that the proper style of weightlifting can do for you is create what I believe to be the most non-sexy thing, but the most beneficial thing, and that is durability. What I've learned over the years of the people I've studied under, that if your training protocols are legitimate, and you're doing things the right way, the right order, and the right progressions, you can decrease risk of injury by about 40% in high trauma sport. So this gentleman was riding his e-bike and got hit by an SUV and got hit in the back. Cracked pelvis, cracked sacrum, in a lot of pain, but he got his MRIs back, because they thought and they were worried that there was going to be disc damage because that was his weak link. He had the discectomy. That's where he took the impact at a high speed, and he's having pain in that area. And they get the MRI results back, and the doctor says this: I don't understand. The weakest link of your body should have been where you broke. He's like, in all honesty, this accident should have broke your spine and severed your spinal cord. You should be a paraplegic. But it's like you have a fortress built around your spine. Your spine withstood the impact, and what broke was a hard bony surface, which was one of the hardest things to break. You broke your pelvis, you broke your sacrum, but the discs in your spine and your low back, where you took the impact, are completely fine. What the hell have you done? And my client sends me this, and then he follows it up with, surround the dragon, baby, right? So this is why I believe, another reason why I believe so much in weightlifting is the durability factor, okay? Can you imagine what his life would be like moving forward? He's not even 40 years old yet. Had he had that spinal injury, okay, there's some luck involved as well. But the fact we spent so much time rebuilding the strength around that spine kept him from living the rest of his life as a paraplegic. Pretty powerful. How funny is this? He's got 16 weeks of rehab. He's in a ton of pain, but he was so happy and so excited that he got this news and just told me, like, every minute I suffered with you through those workouts was worth it in this specific scenario. I learned this working really honestly with how powerful it is with NFL linemen. I think it's one of the toughest jobs there is in the world of sport. A lot of the guys early on that I work with had spinal injuries, and my job was to rehab them and get them back. And I've kind of become known as a guy with NFL linemen that can dramatically reduce risk of injury in that position. For example, I had one guy didn't miss a start in 8 years. Garrett Bowles, I'm training right now for the Denver Broncos. He's going on his 7th season. He's never missed a start. He had one injury. And remember, it's a 40% reduction in injury. There are going to be high trauma scenarios where you just can't prevent that. He had 2 300-pound men fall on his leg when it was braced and just snapped it. There was nothing anyone could have done to protect him against that. But through the process, we bring him back. He has the best year of his career, bigger, faster, stronger than he was prior to the injury. So strategically training and using weightlifting is about so much more than just looking great. It's about creating durability. It's about creating confidence and strength within your body. It is about believing, knowing that I can go do these things I want to do without the risk of injury. There becomes a point when we're taking care of our bodies where you realize this is about more than just looking good. I hit that point. I'm 48 now. I talk about that a lot. I'm middle-aged. I have young children. Realizing, I remember the day specifically. My little girl was in gymnastics, and she challenged me to do a cartwheel. I'm like, no problem. I can do a cartwheel. This was 10 years ago. I go out to the front yard. I went to do a cartwheel, and I strained my hamstring. She's like, Dad, you couldn't even straighten your legs out. That looked horrible. And that's when I realized, like, oh my gosh, my body doesn't work like it used to work. So I've had to work really hard to get my flexibility back, my mobility back, and all these things to create more durability in my body so that I can keep up with my kids. That has become the most important facet for me, is being able to keep up with my kids. And I love it. And I know I talk about this a lot, but this is the thing that really drives me. It's not how I look. It's not my body fat. I don't even know what my body fat is anymore. It's not what my weight is. I don't even know what I weigh anymore. It is purely about being able to keep up with my kids and being able to have the endurance, the durability of those things, to be able to go run routes with them, throw balls around with them, swim with them, wrestle with them, all those things. I want to be able to do them at a high level. And it's fun because I get comments all the time from the little kids on the field like, dang, coach, you're in such great shape. I got a sweatshirt on. They have no idea what I look like. They just see me running around. They see me demonstrating the exercises, the movements I want them to do. It's not me barking at them, you do this, but I can't do it. It's here's how I want this to look type of a thing. I pride myself on that. I like that. So as you're thinking about exercise, there's going to come a point in your life when you realize, I got to step up. Because I'm going to tell you right now, doing a bunch of cardio and just getting a smaller version of yourself and losing weight, great, you lost weight, but you are at such a threat for injury if you're not lifting weights. If you are lifting weights, you got to be lifting them with a purpose, a strategy, a progression over time to make sure you're building that durability, building that strength, building that muscle mass you need to protect your body. I think there's a big difference. Just because you have weights in your hand doesn't mean you're lifting weights. There's a big difference between exercising and weightlifting with a purpose. People think I hear it all the time. Oh yeah, I strength train. Well, what do you do? Oh, I do this class. We do these movements with the barbells, dumbbells. Okay. Well, what's the progression behind it? What's that mean? Well, like what rep range are you doing now? Like what did you do last week? How much more did you do this week? I don't even understand what you're talking about. It takes incredible strategy. It actually takes sophistication to create change in an outcome of how the human body looks, feels, and performs. And the only reason I know this is I'm working with people that get paid a lot of money for those specific reasons. There is so much perfect. I have to know, here's where you are today. Here's where you have to get in 3 months from now. I have to know that I can lay out a plan to get that person there. These are the reasons I don't sit here and talk about fat loss, weight loss, right? I don't think those are the most important factor. It does not matter what that gentleman's fat levels were when he got hit by that car. It doesn't matter what he weighed when he got hit by that car. What mattered was his durability aspects. How much trauma could his body handle from the muscle mass and the strength that he had to protect himself from that? They talk about this as we get older. Muscle mass is incredibly critical. The more muscle mass you have as you get older, the more likely you are to live a long, healthy life. You're less likely to fall. If you do fall, you have the durability protection to protect you from those falls. If something does happen negatively, you're going to recover faster when you have more muscle mass. If you end up with something like my father had, a muscular dystrophy, you're going to have longer to live the more muscle mass you have right now. So I beg of you, get past this idea of all that matters is my body fat percentage and my weight. If all you're exercising for is to try to get your body fat percentage down, You're missing so many great aspects of fitness. You really are. Start digging a little deeper. Start finding more of a purpose behind the reasons why you're exercising than just trying to look great. And here's the funny thing. With my clientele that I work with, I don't work with anyone who's all about, I got to look a certain way. I want to get to a certain body fat percentage. That's all. I don't work with those people. But you see my people, they look pretty damn good. And it's not like this 90-day transformation. It's a rest of your life transformation. It's constant progression over time. They look good all the time. It's not this get shredded in 90 days. Man, I did a podcast a while back and I made some comment about how I don't like bulking and cutting, how I don't think it's the most efficient way to do it. And I have just gotten shredded on social media by all these bodybuilders about how much of an idiot I am. Hey, I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder. All you got to do is take a look at me. But I'll tell you this much, I sure as shit move a hell of a lot better than any bodybuilder I've ever seen. I have a whole lot less injuries than any bodybuilder I've ever seen. And usually I'm 20 years older than the bodybuilders that I see. I don't care to look like a bodybuilder. I want to be able to move really, really well at my age. I want to be able to move really, really well when I am 70, 80 years old. I saw my father lose his ability to move. And the thing he said at the end of his life that he was so worried about was that his grandchildren would not remember him because he couldn't get on the ground and play with them. I took that to heart. He wasn't worried about, oh, I didn't look great. My grandchildren aren't going to remember me because I didn't look great. I had too much body fat. They're not going to remember me. No, I couldn't get on the damn floor and play with them. I really believe that the best life we have is not dictated by how we look. It's about how well we can move and enjoy life and how much confidence we have in our bodies that it can handle things. Shit, I had an experience today at the gym. I was training a client. Some young trainer threw a 40-pound weight right at my leg. If that thing would have hit my leg, it would have broke my leg. I don't know if you've ever dropped a 5-pound weight on your toe. That's enough to break your toe. So imagine a 45-pound plate coming at you. I saw it and I reacted super fast, was able to jump over it. And his response was, "Ooh, good thing you train with speed and power." Like, hell yeah, thank God. It would have been a shitty Friday right there. You got to be able to move to really enjoy life. I'm telling you this. I spent my early years all with how I looked. And I get it. Most young kids in their 20s, early 30s, that is all they care about is how they look. And that's fine. But every single one of you are going to hit a point where you wake up and realize, oh shit, this is about so much more than just how I look. And so if you're at that point, you got to change your strategies. Stop pursuing and just focusing on how you look. Body fat percentage means nothing in the spectrum of how well you move and how well you function in life and how much you enjoy life. I see it all the time. Everybody thinks, oh, if I just get to this body fat percentage, life's going to be amazing. No, it's not. And in reality, all those situations, you'll see it. You've seen these before and after pictures of people. You see these extreme measures people take to get shredded for a picture. The most valuable thing is to ask to see the after picture, or just look at them now as they're showing off their after picture. They're not going to look the same. They're going to look worse. And oftentimes you go long enough to look worse than before they did in the start picture. Stop chasing the highs and lows of that crap. I really believe that if you want to live a great life, you want to get the most out of life, you want to live a memorable life, move well. Get your flexibility back, get your mobility back, get your strength back. Start training strategically. Sophistication is so important when it comes to great programming design. You can look at any of our clients we work with, whether it's one-on-one, small group, or class-based scenario. They have a protocol that they're following. And we're just about to implement a new system at the weight room that actually focuses on an evaluation. How well can someone squat? How well can someone deadlift? How well can someone split squat? Because we've learned there's some key exercises you got to be able to do well. And we understand, okay, here's where they are in that movement pattern. Here is where we're going to start them and progress them to be able to get to a point where they can do a squat really well. They can do a deadlift really well. They can do a split squat really well. People are so afraid to do a deadlift. I can't do that because of my back. No, your back fucking hurts because you can't do a good deadlift. If you can move well in that pattern, if you have the range of motion and all of that, you would be able to deadlift well, and it would be safe for you, not dangerous for you. So strategy and sophistication matters as we get older. If you really care about how your body functions, and you really care about having a great body for the rest of your life, you got to put some strategy behind it. Things like periodization. That means have a plan of action. What are you doing this week? What are you doing over the next 3 weeks? What are you doing over the next 6 months? What are you doing over the next year? You should have a plan in place. And you should be able to look at your programming and say, okay, where was I 6 months ago on this lift? Where am I now? You should be able to see the progression. My favorite thing to ask people is, how much better are you this now than you were a year ago? 99% of people cannot give you that answer, because 99% of people are not tracking any of this stuff. They're just going and beating the hell out of themselves. And you know what? And if you're chasing entertainment in the world of exercise and community, I'm all for it. Awesome. I'm not ragging on that. But if you're at a point in your life where you need strategy and you want to create durability and you want to create a better life from a functioning standpoint, you better start digging a little deeper and understanding there are better processes to follow. And I'm going to warn you right now, stay away from those programs that promise a massive change super fast. There's a lot of programs out now, and they are incredibly hard. You got to suck it up. You got to go to a level you've never been. You got to be all in. You can't handle this. But if you do, in the next 90 days, it'll be the best version of your life. No, you're just going to be the leanest version you've ever been, but you're going to be a walking train wreck, and you cannot sustain that. You cannot sustain that. And the fatigue you're going to create from the effort you're going to put in is going to catch up to you. Talked a lot about that on this podcast, what stress does to you. And your greatest enemy in life is fatigue. And when you are in that high stress fatigue state and you're wore out, guess what's leaving really quickly? The hard-earned muscle mass you put on. I learned this from a gentleman, Stefan Kazult from Kilo Strength Society. I'm going to throw this name out there because he's been one of the biggest mentors in my life that has brought so much clarity in this realm that I've been studying for the last 30 years. If you're an educated fitness person and you want to learn some really good strategy, or you're a fitness trainer and you want to be one of the best in the world, find Kilo Strength Society and suck up everything they offer. Suck up everything they offer, and that will set you ahead of the game. Even if you've never been a coach before and you want to get into the industry, I'm going to tell you right now, that's where you start. What I've learned from those people, the best thing I learned, and this was when I was learning about training professional athletes, the best of the best. You apply just enough stress needed in a workout to create change, and you send them home and focus on recovery. Let me say that again. You provide just enough stress in a workout to create change and send them home. The worst thing you can do to a high-level athlete is overtrain them or overexhaust them. You provide just enough stress to a professional athlete and send them home. My pro athletes in the offseason train 4 times a week for 45 minutes. I learned it from them. I really buy into it. 4 times a week for 45 minutes, that's it. And they get massive change, and they create massive durability and massive performance. That gentleman that got hit on the e-bike, 3 to 4 times a week, we trained every week. And I never crushed him. I always provided just enough stress to force some change and send him home. And we spent a lot of time educating on recovery, nutrition, sleep, all those things I talk about on this podcast. That's why I spend so much more time talking about the things that will drive better recovery, the things that will keep stress down on this podcast, is because that's where the magic is. You provide just enough stress in the world of training. You create a sophisticated program that has progression built in so you can see yourself getting better and better and better over time. And then spend the bulk of the time focused on recovery, sleep. We talked about using like hot to cold contrast therapy for recovery. We've talked a ton about sleep. We've talked a ton about walking. We've talked a ton about nutrition, all these things that will drive better recovery. But if you're exhausting yourself in the workouts or you're training too much, your body is going to break down. I know some of you listening to this have heard me say this over and over and over, and you still don't want to hear me. But I know you know that you're not getting the results you know you should be. Aches and pains, body fat's not going where it wants to go. Your muscle mass isn't coming where you want it to come. It's because we've been led to believe that you need more, that the answer to our solutions is just outwork everyone. I wish that was the case. I'd be in a hell of a lot better place if that was the case, because in my 20s and 30s, that's what I thought, that's what I believed, and that's what I did. That's why I learned all this stuff. I just got it at a young age. Because I remember I had a guy tell me that I looked up to when I was a kid. Can't remember his name, but we were in high school. He was like the stud senior on our football team, and I was a sophomore, I think. And he told me it's really simple. You got to outwork your competition. The days you're tired, you're feeling horrible, the days you just don't want to do anything, that's the day you got to show up to the gym and train twice as hard. Because that's the day your competition will go home and go to bed. You'll get the edge. I bought into that. I used to have this little picture next to my bed. The harder you work, the luckier you get. That's the mindset I had. And that's how I lived. I was just going to outwork everyone. It didn't end so well. At 48, I'm still paying the price for how I lived in my 20s and 30s. If you're in your 20s and you're hearing this, I'm telling you right now, how you're living now is going to affect you in your 40s. Trust me on that. See, so many young kids playing with drugs and steroids and all these things, just going for this look. But what you're not thinking about is, how is that going to affect me when you're my age? Because this age gets here damn quick. Everything you're doing right now in your 20s, if you're there, you're going to pay the price for in your 40s. I promise you. I heard that when I was your age, and I didn't want to believe it. But my God, it is the truth. So a lot of you aren't worried about that. But I'm going to tell you, this age comes quicker than you think. It's like a snap of fingers, and it's here. You're like, oh, shit. How'd that happen? Everyone I talk to that's my age is like, how the hell did that happen? So be smart. Be strategic. The stuff that I'm sharing with you is all the stuff I wish I would have paid attention to. I wish I would have known when I was younger. And I wish I would have implemented earlier in my life. Because there are still things I can't do well. I still can't go out and do a full sprint because of the damage I did to my body. I'm working on that. I'm getting there. I have a team of experts over at Link Medical. These people are phenomenal. I do a ton of work with them. I send a ton of my people to them, and they're working on that. And I know with their help that I am going to get to that point where I can sprint again. Because my son's starting to catch up to me at this stage. It's not going to be much longer until he could beat me at this stage. And I want to push him. I want him to be able to chase me for a while. All right? So there's my 2 cents. There's my little rant for the week. I promise you, if you focus on more than just how you look, if you really take some time and think about what would give me a better life, if I could move more like this, that would help. If I wasn't so afraid to do this and worried about I get hurt, think about those things, write them down, and then put together some strategy. If you need some help with strategy, hit us up. We can help you out. Put together a strategy to create those changes so you can live that better life. Just chasing body fat loss or just chasing weight loss is never going to give you those things. If anything, it's going to make those things worse. And if you're a young coach or a young trainer, you're looking to get into it, I'm telling you, I'm throwing it out there. This was the game changer for me. I met them, 10 years ago now, maybe a little longer than that. And I've done a lot of research and study in this industry. Check out Kilo Strength Society. It's the best tip I can give you. Okay? Perfect. Have a great week. And hopefully the next week or 2 weeks from now, my guest, Raquel Perry, will be back and ready to roll, because I'm so excited to have a conversation with her about women and what they're dealing with when it comes to menopause and all this craziness in the world of exercise. She's seen it all. She's done it all. And her insight is phenomenal for my ladies that listen to this podcast. Take care.